Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
The beautiful thing about exercise is you can combine movements or motions or exercises to work different muscle groups at the same time. On the flip side of that, we can deconstruct it and you can focus on one part of the body and another. So it gives you so many options and it keeps it interesting. So I like to vary things up from time to time. It keeps me from getting bored and it allows me to construct different workouts to focus on the whole body or different parts. So today we're gonna warm you up because we need to get that blood flowing and prepare the body for movement. Then we're gonna move into the exercise portion. Everybody's favorite part is usually the cool down. It's great to stretch out and de-stress, but stay tuned after that because we're going to move into the interview portion where you're going to get some more information on health and wellness topics. I want you to make sure that your space is nice and clear. You've got some water around in a safe spot so you're not going to kick it over, or in a water bottle where you're not going to step on it. You're welcome to use lighter dumbbells, or if you're an experienced exerciser, you might know the weights that you would like to use. Once I say the exercise, make sure they're in a safe spot. You want to clear your space of pets and project and people, because sometimes we have a little one running around at our house and I have to make sure that I'm not going to get knocked flat. So if you're going to exercise with a buddy, make sure you've got enough room for each of you. And if you're going to do some of these standing exercises with me and you happen to have any balance issues, it is completely fine to have, say, a kitchen chair. So nothing on wheels that you'd have. You're going to have, I'll tell you where to place it, where you can place your fingertips on just to give you that little bit of extra balance. So we're going to get moving and get that blood flowing. Let's start off with the shoulders. So seated or standing, you get to pick and choose, or you can change it from time to time if that works for you. I'm going to stand nice and tall. My feet are hip distance apart. My feet are flat on the floor. Be careful if you're standing on the floor. You don't want to be gripping the floor with your toes because that actually doesn't feel really good. It's going to tense up your leg muscles and the muscles of your feet. So imagine your back and your spine. It's like a stack of Lego or a stack of Jenga. If we move one of those out of place or tilt something, everything can kind of tumble over. So think of being nice and tall. Your belly is engaged. So if I were to poke you in the belly button, which is really not very nice, but it would cause you to kind of bring things in and up. So you want to engage the belly. That's what we call it. But if you can still breathe nice and deep, I'm going to let my arms hang at my sides. So like I said, same thing, seated or standing for this one. And I want you to think of bringing your shoulders up towards your ears. It's usually a place I never tell you to bring them, and bring them back down and around. You're making shoulder circles. So big circles, as big as is comfortable, up towards your ears, back down and around. And we're going to speed it up just a little bit. Oh, and I hear all kinds of crunching happening. My shoulders are in need of a bit of some motion. I'm making circles. So what we do one direction, we're going to want to do the other direction. So I'm still doing circles here, and that feels really, really good. And I'm going to reverse that direction. So changing the direction of those shoulder circles. Relax your hands. You can wiggle your fingers so you're not like squeezing your hands into fists. And let's go for 3, 2, and one more big circle. And just shake out those arms. Now we've got some options for the next one. You can either punch. So sometimes if you've kind of had a crappy day, it feels good to get that kind of frustration or stress out. So if I'm going to punch and I want to do this from a seated position, I'm going to bend the elbows and make gentle fists, bringing my hands up towards my face. So my knuckles are facing each other. If I were to open my hands, my palms would be facing each other. So imagine somebody is coming towards your face. You want to protect your nose. So your fists are up, covering your nose because you don't want someone to punch you in the nose, and think of reaching out, turning your fist to punch forward as if you're going to punch someone with the flat part of your knuckles right in their nose, and bring it back. And so those knuckles will be facing each other again, and other hand. And now you can use your core to rotate just slightly as you punch forward. So here's your upper body variation. Okay, so this is all coming from kind of a boxing or sport-like standpoint. So there's your punching. This is a side shuffle if you want to focus on your lower body. So I am standing, my legs are about hip distance apart, my knees are kind of soft. So they're just a very, very little bit of a bend, just slight. so that they're not locked. And I'm standing nice and tall, and I'm going to step one foot to the right. So my right foot to the right, my left foot to the right, and then I'm going to do that same thing again. So I'm going to do 2 to each side, my right foot to the right, my left foot to the right. Now left to the left, right to the left, left to the left, right to the left. So it's a side step, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to go back to the right, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So punching or shuffling, quick feet. And it's okay if you get kind of mixed up on it. It's okay to laugh and start again. And one more. Good. Whew. So now you should be a little warmer. So we've had some punching, we've had some shuffling, we've had some shoulder circles. So what we're going to do is, well, at least I am going to grab a drink, and we'll be back with some exercises just in a moment.
Get ready to exercise. Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen. We'll be right back. Let's exercise. Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen is back.
So we have all kinds of combinations, or we're going to deconstruct it first and then build it so that you can do a combination of 2 exercises at home by yourself, or pick and choose. So I'm going to start with the upper body variation. We're going to do a side raise. So you can use dumbbells or not. I'm not going to for this one because I'm going to be doing 2 different parts of the exercise, but I can show you what it looks like and talk you through what it looks like once we get there. So I'm standing nice and tall, or you can do this seated. My hands are at my sides, my palms are open, so they're at the outside of my thigh. If you want to hold dumbbells, you want to go light here because this is for the shoulders, and they need a little bit more love than some of the bigger muscles, a little bit more gentleness. So I could hold my dumbbells here. Core is nice and tight. You're standing or sitting nice and tall. Your head's in line with the spine, so make sure your chin is not tipped down. And I'm going to raise my arms straight up to the side, no higher than shoulder height. Now my palms would be facing towards the ground, but I'm going to pretend that I'm holding dumbbells here, but that's where your hands would be, so that your palms would be facing down, and bring them back down to your sides. So don't just lift and lower, use resistance. Think of bringing them up nice and slow, and now I've got them up to that shoulder height, and I'm going to lower them down. I'm imagining squeezing. Okay, so you can use your body's own resistance. So there's your upper body variation. Now I'm going to do a squat, and then we're going to combine the 2, and you can combine or do them separate. So sometimes it's just to make things a little more interesting for me, and maybe for you as well. So I am standing, so if you're seated, you can get ready to do that upper body variation if you want. I'm going to do a squat, and then we will add the 2 together. So when I'm standing, my legs are a little wider than hip distance for this. I find that more comfortable for a squat. You can have your legs hip distance or a little bit wider. I'm going to turn my toes ever so slightly to the side. So to check that your legs are wider than hip distance, you're going to place your hands on the outside of your hips and slide your hands down. Now I can feel that my legs are wider than my hips right now, so I know I'm in a slightly wider stance. Now I don't want you to do the splits and try and do a squat. We just want to go slightly wider than hip distance. So think of, you're going to put your bum on a stool or a chair. You're just going to touch your butt to that chair and come up. So you're not going to fold the body. I'm going to just place my hands on my hips because that's what I feel like doing right now. Yep, that's what I feel like doing. You don't want your knees to come over your toes or straight through the center. They track with your feet. So your knees go the direction of your feet. So I am going to bend. So I'm going to think of bringing my butt down to sit on the chair. My chest is still up nice and high. And I'm going to just touch my bum to that chair or stool and come up. Okay, so I'm going to do that and add an arm raise. So we're going to do our first set of 8 here. So either those side raises or the squats or the combination like I am. Okay, so I'm going to squat down. My arms are going to be at my sides as I squat down. Now as I come up, squeeze your butt. And once I'm standing nice and tall, I open those arms to the side like a T and I bring them back down. Now if you're doing just the arms, you're going to do more than one set there. So I'm going to drop it down into a squat and come up. Open the arms, bring it down, drop it down, come up, open the arms, bring it down, drop it down, come up, open the arms, bring it down, drop it down, come up, open the arms, bring it down. For my combination people, you've probably only done 4 for my side raises. You've done 8, so you can take a break. I'm going to continue with the last 4 in this set. Drop into a squat. Come up, straighten those legs, open those arms to a T with control, and lower, and drop it down. Come up, arms into a T, and lower. 2 more. Drop it down, and up, arms to a T, and lower. Last 1, dropping it down. Come up, arms into a T, and lower. Whew. I'm working all kinds of muscles, so that gets a little bit warm. So there's your first set. We're going to go for 2 more sets. So get ready, pick your poison, and now I'm just going to make sure my feet are aligned, my core is tight, and I'm going to come into my squat. I'm going to come up, bring my arms into a T, and lower. Squat, come up, squeeze your butt, arms into a T, and lower with control. Drop it down, come up, T, and lower. Think of touching your butt to that chair, so you're not really dropping, you're using control. Come up, bring it out, and lower. Bring your bum down, touch it to that imaginary chair. Come up, straighten the legs, arms out, and lower. 2 more. Down, and up, arms out, and lower, and down, and up, arms out, and lower. We got 1 more set. So either that, pick your poison, you can mix and match because you're the boss of your own workout. I'm going to show you what it looks like with the weights and talk you through what it sounds like with the weights, but I'm probably going to put them down. My shoulders are probably the weakest part of my body, and I train them quite carefully and purposefully. So I was bending at the knees to pick up my dumbbells, so get ready to do the upper body or the lower body or both. Check your alignment, you're using your core. So I'm going to squat down, come up, squeeze your butt, bring your arms open to the side and down. Make sure you're breathing down and up, side raise and down, down and up, side raise and down, down and up, side raise and down. If you're doing side raises, you've probably done your 8. If you're doing a combination, keep going with me for 4 and up, arms into a T and lower with control. Squat and up and T and down, squat and up and T and down. I think we got 2. Bring that bum into a squat and squeeze to come up to a T and down, down and up, whoo, into the T and down. Wow, so I'm nice and warm. So we're gonna move into our next exercise. I'm gonna just bend down and put my weights down. We're gonna go into I'm gonna catch my breath, into a bicep curl and a lunge. And then we're gonna combine the 2 or not if you choose. You can go upper body, lower body, or a combination. Now, often when I'm doing bicep curls, I will use weights. You do not have to. So if you want to do this sitting, and I'm still out of breath, this is normally the point if I'm doing a squat and with a raise, I'm not talking to no one. So your arms are down at your sides. If you've got dumbbells, you can hold on to them. My palms would be facing the outside of my thighs. Now, you can make gentle fists, and I'm going to rotate my arms so my palms or the inside of my hands are facing forward. Okay, or your dumbbells are going to be facing in front of you. My arms are slightly ahead of my hips. I'm going to bend at the elbows and bringing my fists up towards my shoulders. So squeeze your upper arms. You're going to make a muscle. As my grandson would say, make a muscle, Nance. So bending those arms up. So it's not completely bent. You're not touching your shoulders. And you're going to lower with control. Okay, so there's the bicep curl. You can do this one-sided as well. So you want to make sure you're not curling your wrist in or flexing it out. So your wrist is in line with your elbow. It's nice and smooth on the back of your arm if you were to feel. Now I'm going to go into the lunge, and then we'll combine, and you can decide which or what you're going to do for your workout. So I am standing for the lunge. My feet are about hip distance apart, and I'm going to take a step forward. My feet are sweaty. So if your feet are sweaty, you're going to wipe them off first. Fairly big step forward. So my legs are kind of like in a V or a triangle. My hips have headlights on them, so they're pointing forward. My heel is in line with my back foot. My back foot is turned out slightly, so the heel is in line with the instep. So that's kind of the little dip on the inside of your foot. That's kind of where my heel would be lined up with. Now your heel is probably not going to remain on the ground, especially if you have tight calves like mine are quite tight. And you're going to have to see where you are. You might have to come up after your first lunge and make your step larger or smaller. Now, if you have balance issues, this is where you can take the chair and place it to the side of you so you can put your fingertips on it. Just for some balance, okay? So now I'm going to bend my front knee. Well, I have to step back a little bit more for comfort for me. Now I'm going to bend the front knee. My back leg's going to stay straight with that slight turned out toe, and my heel's going to lift on that back leg. So my front knee is to about 90 degrees, and then I'm going to straighten that front leg. So there's your lunge. There's your lower part as I run out of breath. I'm going to add the bicep curl. So my arms are at my sides. Don't try this one if you're struggling with balance. Work up towards it. So my arms are at my sides. I'm going to have my dumbbells at my sides, turn my palms facing so they'd face the wall ahead of me. My dumbbells would face the wall ahead of me, so I'm going to lunge down, bending that front knee, that back knee stays straight, and I'm going to come up, straightening that front leg, curl those dumbbells towards me, and release. Now, what's important is don't twist your body, keep your body straight. So I'm going to lunge, come up, and curl, lunge, come up, bicep curl, release that bicep curl, so you're going to straighten the arms, lunge, come up, and curl, release. Slowly down those arms, lunge, come up, and curl, release. So slowly lower those arms, lunge, come up, and curl it in, make a muscle, bring it down, and one more, lunge, come up, and curl those biceps, squeeze, and lower. Whew. If you've got dumbbells, you can put them down if you wish. Or I'm just going to shake out my hands. I'm not holding any right now. And I'm going to change feet. When my blood gets flowing and I start to get warm now, my nose is going to run. So all kinds of fun things are happening. So I'm back into a standing upright position. Okay. So if you're doing your bicep curls, I want you doing about 3 sets of 8. Lunges, 3 sets of 8 if you can handle it, or 3 sets of 6 to 8. I'm going to do the second side, so big step forward with my other foot, so my left foot. My headlights on my hips are facing that front foot. Turn your back foot out slightly. Okay, so I'm going to head into a lunge. I'm just going to lift that back heel a little bit, bend that front knee to 90, and come up. Bicep curl, straighten that bicep curl. I have less balance on this side. Lunge and up. Bicep curl and lower, lunge down and up, bicep curl and lower, bending that front leg to approximately 90, no lower, and up, bicep curl and lower. Oh man, I got 3 more. Lunge down and up, bicep curl, and lower those arms. Now, if you've been doing bicep curls, you should be done your bicep curls. Your 3 sets of roughly about 8. You've got 3 more lunge bicep curls if you're following along with me. So continue on, do those last 3, grab a drink, and then we're going to continue on with the exercises in a moment.
Keep moving. Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen will be right back. Back to the exercises on Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
All right, we're going to work the core with this next exercise. Regardless if you are seated or lying down in the couple of variations, or seated or kind of leaning back into a boat position with me. So I'm going to give you a couple variations. I swapped my weights out for some lighter weights for some of the stuff that we're going to do. So you do not have to use a weight for this one. So seated in a chair or even seated on the ground. What I'm going to do is, my arms are at my sides, I'm going to reach them straight out in front of me so my palms are facing each other. They're about shoulder height or maybe a tiny smidge lower. Now I'm going to take my hands together so my palms are together. I'm going to interlace my fingers. Okay, so that is where I'm kind of going to keep my arms, and they're in a strong position. So my elbows are not locked, but they're not forced. Slide your shoulders down your back. Now you're going to use your core, and I'm going to rotate to my right. So my arms are just going to come with me and kind of guide that direction as I stretch away and bring it back to center. Oh, I can feel this already. That's wonderful. And rotate to the other side. Bring those arms with, and use your stomach to come back. So your abdominal muscles are what's doing the work. So there is your upper body portion that you can do seated from a chair. Now I'm going to bring a weight with me because you can also use a weight for this. My first set I'm going to do without, and then I'll combine it with. So there's a few things that we can do here to combine. So remember your first variation. Now this is the second half. So I'm seated on my mat with my knees bent and my feet flat on the mat. Now I want my butt bones in contact with the floor so that I don't fall over. So I'm just going to move my flesh in my butt so my butt cheeks back a bit so I can feel the bones touch that mat. Now I'm going to lean back just slightly. Now I can feel my abs working. This might be enough. You might just want to stick here. Now we can add that upper body portion, or you can lift one leg or two. So this is where you get to combine. I'm going to go ahead for this one and just lean back and keep my feet on the ground. And I'm going to rotate to the right and back to center. So I'm in that combination exercise. Left and back to center. I'm using the core, exactly the same as the seated variation. Right and back to center. Wow, can I feel that? Left and back to center. So we've got two more to each side. Right and back to center. Don't let your legs move. Left and back to center. They're going to want to shift, so try and keep them still. Right and back to center, and left and back to center. Now I'm going to sit up nice and tall because I was in that slightly leaned back position, and you can take a bit of a break here. So you can use a dumbbell if you wish. That's what I was holding. And you can hold it up and down so the flat end of the dumbbell faces the sky and the other one faces the ground, or so they face the sides. It's up to you. I'm grabbing onto the flat ends because that's what feels good for me. So let's move into set 2. Either you're seated or just your lean back position, or both. Now I'm leaning back. I'm engaging the core. I should not feel this in my back. It's very important. Otherwise, you're going to come up just a little bit. So I'm going to go to the right and center. Woo! And to the left and center. These movements do not have to be big. To the right and center. To the left and center. Two more each side. To the right. Wow. And center. This is good. And to the left and center. And you're going to go for one more each side. Let's go to the right. Keep those legs still. And center. And to the left and center. Whew. So I'm putting my weight down. I'm going to add to this. So you can choose any of the variations you've been working on. But if you want a little more, I'm going to show you how to combine it with the boat pose or a balancing position. If your balance is off, keep those feet flat on the floor or use the chair variation. Otherwise, I just have to move my butt cheeks back again so I can feel the bones touch the mat. I'm going to raise the feet. I'm actually going to cross my ankles to keep my legs still. You can just have your feet and your legs my legs are at 90 degrees. You can do this with one leg up. Extending the arms. I'm going to go to the right and center, to the left and center, to the right and center, to the left and center, to the right and center, whew, to the left and center. One more each side, to the right and center, and to the left and center. Woo, good job. So your belly should be good and warm. Should not be feeling that in the back or in what we call the hip flexor, so the crease in the hip. Okay. If you're feeling that, your abs have kind of let go, and you probably need to have your feet on the floor if you had them up in the air. So now I'm going to come to lying down, but the exercise that I'm going to do from lying down can absolutely be done seated. Okay, so I have light weights beside me because if I'm working my shoulders, I train quite light on the shoulders and on the chest. I'm just gonna make sure they're where I can grab them if I need and that they're out of the way. Maybe gonna move them down just a little bit closer to my hip so I can demonstrate this exercise. So I'm laying on the floor or you're sitting nice and tall. I'm gonna relax my back into the mat. I'm gonna firm up the belly as if I'm gonna poke you in the belly or drop a basketball on your stomach, really mean. So you want that nice and kind of tight, you can still breathe. Feet are flat on the floor. Now my arms are at my side, so I'm gonna raise them straight up overhead. If you're sitting, you're raising them straight up in front of you at about shoulder height, okay? Otherwise, they're straight up out of the shoulder, palms facing each other if you're lying down. And this is where you can, if you want to grab dumbbells, you can. I'm going to make gentle fists. And what I'm going to do is bend the elbows, bring my arms out to the sides. So when I'm pulling my elbows down, they're not coming to my sides, they're coming out. So I'm making the shape of a goalpost. So the backs of my arms will touch the ground. And then I'm going to extend the arms straight up into that starting position where they're straight. Now from here, I'm going to open the arms. My elbows are slightly bent and I'm going to open them like I'm opening up wings. So I'm going to open them. They're at chest or shoulder, I'd say shoulder height. Open the backs of my arms. Maybe the backs of your hands are going to touch the floor if you're lying, and bring them back up and back into the first version. So this is a combination where I'm bending the elbows and I'm bringing them down at my sides. So they're away from the body, making that goalpost and about, I'd say, chest height. And bring them back up. And open your arms like you're opening the wings of a bird or a butterfly. So the elbows are barely bent, and bring the arms back up and we're going to straighten them. And we're going to bend the elbows, so it's a combination. Drawing those elbows down to the sides at about chest height, so they're away from your body like a goalpost, and come all the way back up and open. And if you're using weights, this can be quite tough. And up, so we'll take a break and shake it out. So don't just drop your weights. They're gonna land on your lap if you're sitting, or on your belly if you're lying. I don't have any in my hands right now, so I'm just gonna shake up my hands, give my shoulders a bit of a wiggle. And this is where I'm going to go into my second set. So you can kind of gauge if you've been using weights, if you need to put those down or pick some up. All right, so if you're seated or lying, make sure that belly is engaged. So nice and kind of firm there. You're supporting the spine. Your head is in line with the spine, so you're not looking up and back, and your chin is not driven in towards your chest. So my arms are at my sides. I'm going to raise them straight up. So my fingertips are kind of pointing towards the ceiling if I'm lying, or if I'm sitting straight up to shoulder height. Now, if you're going to grab your weights, you can grab your weights. That's where you're going to want them to be. My palms are facing each other, and I am going to make those gentle fists. My elbows are what we call soft, so that my arms are locked straight and firm. And now I'm going to bend the elbows and bring them out to the sides away from me, like into a goalpost, so that they're going to come down back, and my arms are going to touch the mat. It's kind of like having bent wings and reach all the way up, sort of. You're going to straighten those arms. Then you're going to open your arms without bending the elbows, just that soft bend like wings, and bring them up. And bending those elbows at about chest height, bring them down. Backs of the arms touch the back, or the floor if you're on the floor, and up and open without that big bend, and up. And we're going to bend the elbows to 90 degrees, bringing the elbows away from you at about chest height, and up, and open, out to the sides, and up. So you can shake that out, and we're going to go into a third set. I have been not using dumbbells, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my lighter dumbbells here, because we can, and I want to train these muscles. So my shoulders have kind of crept up towards my ears. I'm going to slide my shoulders down the back. Okay, so I'm bringing my arms up. My palms would be facing each other, so my fists are facing each other. I'm going to bend those elbows, draw them out to the sides and away from the body, making a T or a goalpost position, I should say, and bring them back up, kind of straightening those arms. Open, keep your core nice and tight. This is where you're really going to need it. And squeeze those wings back closed. Bend the elbows, bring them away from the body, out to the sides into a goalpost position, and all the way up and straightening those arms. Open them like wings. And up and bend. Bring them down and up and bring them open and up and bend those elbows and bring them down. Good work, everyone. So I want you to set your weights down if you're using them and grab a drink, and we are going to get ready to cool down.
Keep moving. Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen will be right back. Welcome back to Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
Well, good work, everyone. I just grabbed a big drink. I hope you're able to drink some water too. This is the part we've all been waiting for. Maybe it was just me. I like the cool down. I like to stretch. That feeling after I've worked is just, it's a really, really good feeling to stretch. So even if you've gone for a walk, it's a really great idea to stretch your body afterwards. Consider it the reward for your hard work. So when I'm walking, that's where I often forget to stretch. And guess what hurts later? My everything. So we're going to do the cool down seated. I'm going to give you a couple different ways to do this. So for the first variation, I'm sitting on the ground cross-legged, but you can be sitting in a chair. Sit nice and tall. And for the first variation, I just want you to look up towards the sky, getting a stretch in the front of your throat, the front of your neck, and sometimes into the chest. And I'm feeling this into the shoulders. And you can hold here for as long as you want, but when you come back up, be very careful. We're always careful with the neck. So we're not dropping the head back. It's just a gentle look up to stretch the front of that throat and neck. Now, if we want to change this up, you can go ahead and do that again. Otherwise, I'm going to place my hands slightly behind me because I'm on the floor. They can be beside you if you're on the chair. And I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to bring my chest forward. So I'm going to think of arching that upper back and getting a, wow, that feels good. Stretching the upper back and the throat. So I'm looking up towards the ceiling, pushing that chest out. And when I come back out of this, I'm going to use my stomach muscles to bring the back into line. So you don't want to just bring your back. Using your core is very helpful. So that's a great stretch for the upper back. We're often in a very forward position, no matter what we do. So it helps to kind of bend back. So we're going to stretch the triceps. I find my triceps gets really tight, and it's strange because I don't focus a lot of exercise on it. It must be just the motion from using my cane or walking my dog puts lots on the tricep. So that is the back of your arm. So seated on the floor or in your chair, what I'm going to do is my arms are down at my sides and my palms are facing outside of my legs. So I'm going to raise my left arm straight up towards the sky. Fingertips are pointing to the ceiling. And now I'm just going to bend at the elbow and I'm going to place my palm on my shoulder, my back. So it's like you're patting your back. You can go ahead and pat your back. You did a good job. So that might be enough. And if it doesn't reach your back, that's okay. Do not panic. Now I'm going to take my opposite hand, bring it across my body, and I'm going to touch that arm with my palm between the elbow and the armpit of the back of that bent arm and just gently aid the stretch. So don't force it. Oh, that is quite fantastic. I feel this all the way down my side and in my armpit and in my back and all the things. So I'm going to release slowly out of that stretch. So these are stretches at the end of a workout. You don't want to do that and hold it before a workout. We want to hold the longer stretches after. So what you've done to one side, let's just simply do that to the other. I'm going to raise my right arm straight up. Fingertips are pointing to the sky. Now I'm going to rotate my hands so when I bend my elbow, I can just pat myself on the back. So just imagine patting yourself on the back. My opposite arm is going to come across the body and my hand is going to rest between the elbow and the armpit. Just gently, and I mean really gently, bringing that arm back, aiding the stretch. And if this is that's too much, then you just release that arm down. You're in control of the stretch. Oh, that feels wonderful. And release. So whether you're seated on the floor or seated in your chair, we're going to hinge at the hips, so fold at the waist with a nice flat back, and we're going to fold forward. And this is where you can get to relax down. I'm on the floor, so I'm going to walk my hands forward in front of me, and I'm just going to relax and get a stretch in the shoulders and the back because we really work those shoulders. If you're seated, you can walk your hands down your legs or think of folding and relaxing over the legs. So you can hang out here for a little bit. but I want you to stay moving, stay motivated, and stay with us.
Up next on Healthy at Home, Bobbi learns how food can fuel your body. We're back with health and wellness tips on Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
We're here to talk about food. I've got James Bain here with me today, and for those of you that know me and have followed along a little bit, you know I love food. I'm incredibly busy, so I'm really excited to be talking about food and fuel. James, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
For sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. So my name is James, and I'm a registered dietitian, and I work both in the inpatient clinical setting, working with individuals, providing them with the energy and the nutrients that they need in order to get better and healthier in hospital. And then on the side, in the evenings and on the weekends, I work with people in the community in more of a consulting role, one-on-one if they have questions related to a chronic condition, or if they're just looking to make positive lifestyle changes in terms of their overall health and nutrition. And also I work with athletes in more of a sport nutrition capacity as well. So kind of a wide array of different areas of interest of mine, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity. So.
You just said two words that stood out to me, energy and positive. So those are two things I'm probably going to pick your brain on, but how did you get your start?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, actually, I started off in the field of kinesiology. I completed an undergraduate in that area, and I was working kind of in a exercise capacity similar to what I do in terms of nutrition, actually, just more with regards to physical activity. And so after a period of time, I kind of came to realize that this was a lifelong passion of mine, and what better way to pair physical activity than with nutrition. And so I went back to school and did a second undergraduate degree, and now I work as a registered dietitian as well as a personal trainer along with my private practice as well.
You are busy.
I appreciate that. Trying to slow down as much as I can, but.
Well, when you say pairing food with activity, that brings me to, so many questions. But conversations I've had, and I've noticed just with trial and error with myself, sometimes there seems to be better times to eat. Is there an ideal way to fuel your body for activity? Does it vary?
For sure. So I think the first thing is understanding where does the concept of fuel within our food come from. So we have three primary energy contributing nutrients. So we have carbohydrates, we have protein, and we have fat. And so within our diet, we need to have an adequate supply of all of those nutrients in order to best fuel our body for not only physical activity, but all of our day-to-day physiological processes that go along, having the energy to be, cognitively alert, whether we're in school or at work, and just to be able to go about all of the demands of our day-to-day process. So I think having an understanding of what are those particular foods that contain carbohydrates as well as protein and fat is kind of the foundation for understanding how do we then best pick and choose combinations of those foods to best fuel our body throughout the day. So when we look at food as fuel from an energy perspective, carbohydrates are actually our body's preferred energy source. Okay.
Delicious.
Yeah, everybody loves carbohydrates, right? So when we think of carbohydrates initially, the first thing that usually comes to mind is bread or pasta, sometimes starchy vegetables like potatoes. And while those are all, great energy contributing nutrients, we also get carbohydrates from a wide variety of other foods. So all types of fruit, certain other starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, corn, those types of things.
I love sweet potatoes,
right?
Okay.
And then all whole grains as well. So again, not only pasta, but things like rice, other grains like quinoa, couscous, those types of things, okay? We also get carbohydrate from lactose or dairy products. If you've ever heard of somebody being lactose intolerant, actually intolerant to the naturally occurring carbohydrate that's found in milk. And so when we think of carbs, most of the time we think again of pasta and bread and those types of things. And then we also often think of things like confectionery items like cakes and cookies and pastries. And so understanding that we need carbohydrates as fuel, but ideally trying to choose those that are whole grain and contain fiber whenever possible is kind of the key. Okay.
So making the best choices.
Absolutely, yeah. So, lots of whole grains, fruit, vegetables, and lean sources of dairy products are ideal choices in terms of carbohydrate intake. We also need to understand, though, that it's not enough to just get adequate carbohydrate. We need adequate protein in order to help with muscle synthesis and that sort of thing after we exercise.
So after being the key, that's
absolutely.
a really good time.
Yeah, so when we look at the actual timing, the goal is to have adequate carbohydrate before. If the exercise session lasts longer than 60 minutes, we need adequate carbohydrate during, and then for sure we need to replenish those carbohydrate stores following the activity as well. When we look at protein, though, protein intake, ideally we need to have it after we work out in order to replenish, or not just work out, but any sort of physical activity session to replenish and help with building muscle mass. And as well, I'm kind of coloring protein as the only function that it has is through muscle synthesis. That's of course not true. We have a lot of other physiological processes that dietary protein assists with, but in terms of fueling our body for activity, that's where we want to primarily focus on. But we don't necessarily have to have all of our protein intake, right after. In fact, it's better if we equally distribute our protein intake throughout the day. So a lot of the clients that I work with in the community setting especially really tend to get most of their protein later on in the day. So if we can look at trying to
I'm guilty of that.
choose those protein-containing foods throughout the day, we're going to have better absorption and utilization of that protein as a fuel source, or as a nutrient, I should say. The last piece is dietary fat, and people often think, well, deep fried foods or fatty fish, right? Those are kind of the two big things that come into mind. We get dietary fat from a lot of different things other than those. We get them from certain, fruit, like avocados. We get them from nuts and seeds.
Peanut butter?
Peanut butter is another example, absolutely. And so in terms of dietary fat, we need just the right amount in order to help with things like hormone signaling and other physiological processes. It also helps with absorbing certain vitamins and the utilization of certain vitamins in our diet. But we don't want to have too much dietary fat, especially from animal sources, just because there's research to support that it can be bad for our heart health and increase our risk of certain conditions related to that.
So all the hard work we're doing to make our heart healthy,
exactly.
we need to take care of it.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of it comes down to balance and moderation. Those are kind of the two biggest themes that I talk to my clients about. Not every day has to be perfect. We don't have to have, in fact, I try to encourage clients not to have a set meal plan throughout the week.
I love it.
But having an understanding of how to pair those carbohydrate and protein containing foods especially, so that we can give our body the energy and the nutrients that it needs throughout the day.
Okay, James, guess what? I'm going to go home and have pizza, I'll be honest. Is that a bad choice to be making?
No, not at all. Pizza is a fantastic choice. It can definitely be part of a balanced diet. When we look at pizza, we actually have all of those macronutrients right there. So we have our carbohydrates in the dough, we have our protein source in the meat or the dairy from the cheese, and then we get some dietary fat from those two things as well. And then we get all these vegetables that give us great vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. So pizza oftentimes gets a bit of a bad rep, but it's a fantastic choice.
Just not maybe 3 times a day, every day.
There's the balance and moderation.
I love it. Balance and moderation. Well, I'm going to go home, enjoy my pizza, and I'm going to try and fill in some more protein in my morning and think about the timing of the different macros that I use throughout the day. So thank you so much for joining us today, James. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Produced by Honeycut Studios. Host Bobbi Janzen. Accessibility consultant Sierra Roth. Special thanks to James Bain with Live Elevate. Integrated Described Video consultant Ron Rickford. Content development specialist Jim Crisco. Supervising producer Jennifer Johnson. Director Programming Lisanne Gagne. Director Content Development and Production Kara Nye. Vice President, Content Development and Operations, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2024 Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.